Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Friday, March 6th, an NHL Trade Deadline Friday. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith with you. We wish David C., who's now going to be with us on Fridays moving forward, not able to join us today. He's a little under the weather, said he needs a day to recover, so we wish him well. Hope he gets well soon. He'll be back next Friday. But we're obviously looking ahead to a Friday night NHL card with a bunch of really good matchups on tap. It's a nice card on a Friday night. Some good games. Looking forward to that. But, of course, it's trade deadline day. We're less than 1 hour away from the trade deadline. And my overall thoughts on the trade deadline so far is, yeah, that's pretty much my reaction so far. It's not been overly, not that massive, trade that's been made so far. I mean, if you're wrapped up in old man Corey Perry going back to Tampa Bay, and giving them a little bit of a jolt, okay, I guess I could see that. If you're excited about Bobby Brink to Minnesota, which I actually do think is a nice deal for Minnesota to get him in, I could see that. If you're all wrapped up in Nick Foligno reuniting with his brother Marcus Foligno there in Minnesota, like I said, I get it. You love the brothers reunited. Family gets to play together, win a cup together, two brothers. I get all that. But from a hockey trade standpoint, I don't know how he's the right fit for Minnesota. But I guess, the two brothers together. But there are a couple moves I liked. I liked what the Columbus Blue Jackets did. I like them bringing in Connor Garland. More of a minor deal. But Connor Garland wears his heart on his sleeve, plays hard every night. That guy plays much bigger than his size. He can score goals for you. He plays with a little bit of character, and they need some of that with Columbus, and Columbus is right there as far as the playoffs are concerned. They're now only 3 points back of the New York Islanders for third in the Metro and 1 point back of the Boston Bruins for the second spot in the wild card. So, like I said, I like that move for Columbus. And then what's the other? Oh, Buffalo, getting some – we talk about it every year, Alex, that size on the blue line, that seems to be a prerequisite to contend for a Stanley Cup. You need some size. You need some girth on the blue line, and boy, the Buffalo Sabres added that in a big way from the Winnipeg Jets with Logan Stanley and Luke Schenn brought in a little muscle, little physicality, some height, some size, and two players that are pretty nasty to play against. And that's the one thing I think the Buffalo could use a little bit more on the blue line was that tenacity, quotient. And boy, oh boy, they added that with the likes of Logan Stanley and Luke Schenn. So those are the deals that kind of stuck out. More than anything throughout the day. Of course, there's an hour to go, so we still could have some things obviously announced and trades made between now and the top of the hour. And don't forget, sometimes it takes up to 30 to 45 minutes after the deadline for the trade calls to get processed with NHL Central Registry. So oftentimes you do get some trades announced after the trade deadline. So there's always a possibility of that as well. But Alex, some takeaways from you with what we've seen so far here on this trade deadline day.
Everyone gets caught up with this day every year thinking that it's going to be some, gigantic headline moves, some, franchise shattering moves that are going to happen, or franchise building moves, depending on how you look at it. And that's not always the case. I think this has been a very purposeful trade deadline. I think we've seen teams taking care of business, getting pieces they need and filling slots and holes that they have to get ready for the playoffs, which is what this time's all about. Like I said, Bobby Brink going to Minnesota is a fantastic move. I think that's the best move that they've made because I think all their other moves they've made have been kind of crummy. This is a team that has, desperately said they've needed top six centermen. We need some better depth along the center. You get Michael McCarron, who's a decent fourth line centerman, but you're already skating him in the first couple of practices on the wing, which is where John Hines had him playing when he was coaching him in Nashville. And then today you go out and get Nick Foligno, another fourth line winger, who, yes, okay, fun story. Nick and Marcus are back together, but have you realized that they're exactly the same player? And Marcus Foligno, the guy you already had, is the younger of the two, probably the more durable of the two. this didn't make sense to add those pieces. So, you know, I get that the Wild wanted to continue making moves, but you weren't going to make a move certainly as big as you've already made with Quinn Hughes. You weren't going to be able to get another big piece. And now you're going to have to make another move within the next hour because you got money to move around. You still got guys like Ryan Hartman, who I think is a guy you definitely should be trying to move. I don't think he's going to give you much. We've seen what he can do in the playoffs or what he can't do in the playoffs over the last few years, and he's taken up money space. Vladimir Tarasenko, a guy who has come along and looked really good, looked like kind of some pieces of himself from the St. Louis days. He's also taken up a big bunch of money. So Minnesota still got some moves they've got to do as far as on the financials to make these current moves that they've taken place, have everything work out within the cap. Of course, the cap, $95.5 million for each team is where they have to be compliant from. It's not so much about roster size anymore from this point moving forward. But John Carlson, I think that's the best move. John Carlson going to Anaheim, giving some defensive depth for the Ducks, giving a veteran presence to work with some of those younger guys. And that's a classic Q move, right? We remember seeing that with the Hawks. Hawks always wanted to shore up that blue line and get some veteran presence in that locker room around playoff time, and you need that with a lot of young kids who don't have that playoff experience. So getting to John Carlson, I thought that was a really nifty move there for the Anaheim Ducks.
The only I don't disagree. The only look, experience. The guys won a Stanley Cup with the Washington Capitals. That helps, no question. But at the same point in time, injuries, age. My only concerns with John Carlson at this stage of his career, long in the tooth a little bit. But I'm telling you what, it's not. You didn't give up a shit ton to get him when you look at it. If you're Anaheim, he's a veteran guy with cup experience, the ring on the finger. You can bring that to the dressing room with all these young kids that they've got. They got a shit ton of them. We know that. Carlson and Seneca and all of them. You know, they got all kinds of youth on this team that bringing in a veteran guy, you know, like John Carlson. And John Carlson can still play. You know, I think he's, you know, maybe not going to put up the points he once did, but he can still play power play. He can still chip in a little bit. You know, and it's just more so concern about can he be durable here during his stay with the Anaheim Ducks. But I don't mind the thought process that Pat Verbeek had to go in that direction, without a doubt. Yeah, we will play the breaking news because it does look like we do have a trade that has just come down the pike.
This is breaking news from the Ice Guys.
Yeah, Elliot Friedman seems to be on top of this here. It sure sounds like we already talked about how Nick Foligno, a captain, traded from one team, and another captain looks to be on the move here for the in the NHL. Braden Shen, captain of the St. Louis Blues, looks like he might be on his way to the New York Islanders. Elliot Friedman saying momentum has built for the New York Islanders and St. Louis to complete a Braden Shen trade. He's not putting that out there unless he's pretty sure the wheels are in motion for that to get done. So I would expect it to get done, but it looks like at the moment, Alex, Braden Shen to the New York Islanders, and this is another one where it's a guy with experience, cup winner, great dressing room guy, leadership qualities that he'll bring to this Islanders team. You know, he can chip in at least a little bit at times offensively, but he'll do all the intangibles for you, play physical, you know, work hard away from the puck. So I like it for the Islanders, Braden Shen. You know, it's never, to me, I'm never going to crucify, Alex, a trade where you're bringing in a cup winner with experience who can still play. And that's Braden Shen, and a good leadership qualities as well.
Right, especially where it's needed. Like you said, you're not asking this guy to all of a sudden be the number one defenseman and log big time minutes. You have Matthew Schaefer, for crying out loud. Like, these are, once again, pieces that are filling in gaps that need to be filled. And like you said, more often than not, especially when we're talking about guys like a Foligno, guys like a Shen up in age, you're doing more with the locker room. You're doing more in between the games, managing that 7-game series, that travel, that, you know, where you are in the series. Those guys bring a lot of that to the table, and that's what you need. And you know, like I said, these are teams that don't really need to make earth-shattering moves. If you're the New York Islanders, you have your young core. You're going to go as far as you go, right? Like, you're not pushing all in to win the Stanley Cup this year, but you're making incredible strides. And if you can add a piece that can only help you, it's not disrupting anything, then that's the case. And that seems to be at least what is the layout and the foundation for this deal that's currently happening now.
Yeah, you ain't freaking lying, Jonathan. The Isles looked out of sorts in both games in Southern California, which is a good transition to the recap. We're going to go briefly through the recap yesterday because the focus right now is on the trade deadline. It was kind of an up and down day for me. It was like right around break even, and really I needed a couple of the late games to go my way to get to break even. So it was kind of an up and down day, not as good as the last few days had been, but nothing terrible. That's for sure. It was a win some, lose some kind of day. We started pretty well. A couple of those early games, the sides came through for us. Columbus, although again, Columbus nearly blowing a multi-goal lead. This is something Rick Bowness is going to want to nip in the bud because they blew a big lead against the Rangers, yet hung on and rescued the 2 points. And same thing last night against Florida. In fact, Florida tied it, but goalie interference challenge by Columbus saved the day and kept the Panthers from tying that game. And then Columbus put it away into the empty net. 4-2 Jackets. They beat the Panthers, and we already told you after the New Jersey loss, it's all over but the crying for the Florida Panthers as far as playoff hopes, and certainly that's the case now after a loss last night to Columbus. How about those Buffalo Sabres? Incredible. 5-1 win against Pittsburgh. I know that was Alex's best bet on the show yesterday. Sometimes it's just good to just don't warp your mind sometimes. Have a clear head. Don't overthink things. And just looking at that price, it looked cheap for Buffalo. And it was a revenge game for Buffalo. Buffalo played one of the very rare poor games they've played the last month or two against this Pittsburgh team at home right before the Olympic break. And I said, they're going to remember that. They're going to play better here. And that's exactly what we saw last night. 5-1 victory for Buffalo. Multiple shorthanded goals, by the way, in that game, which was pretty crazy to see. Luukkonen was very good in net again. I thought it's been a really good run for UPL, and I know Sabre fans have got to be happy to see that. What an ugly moment, though, for Evgeny Malkin. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. A vicious swing of the stick right up against the face of Rasmus Dahlin last night. That's just a moment where you lose your composure. You lose your sensibility, and you just do something that I'm sure he regrets it now, but it's the heat of the moment, and you just lose it, and it's easier said than done, like in the heat of the battle, to say, don't fucking lose it. Don't swing your stick in a guy's face. But sometimes, the motions get the better of you. I gotta, someone's pestering you like that, and you want to, but that's just, you can't lose it like that. That's a dangerous play. That's a reckless play. Can't be doing that shit. And I think he's going to pay the piper for it. I think he will get suspended because he does have a hearing scheduled with NHL Department of Player Safety today. So I think he's going to get something for this, Alex. And that was just an ugly, unfortunate moment there for Evgeny Malkin.
And it's interesting, right? We talk about what is, the ramifications of the absence of Sidney Crosby. Well, when you don't have Sidney Crosby on the ice, then your other guys have to step up as leaders. And number 71 certainly would be the first guy to step in line as a leader. That is not a way in which you lead your team, and to take yourself out of the equation and have just a boneheaded move like that. That's not good. And these are the things that we worry about when you talk about disrupting the core of a team. And yeah, it's crazy. And he's a guy who's had a couple of dirty hits in his career. So like I said, he's
got a temper. You better believe it. The big Russian, man, he's got a temper.
Yeah. So he's probably gonna miss a few games here, and that's the last thing that this Pittsburgh team needs right now, with Carolina seemingly running away with this division, with other teams making moves. Now here you are with your two biggest leaders and your two biggest core players out of the lineup for possibly the next 3 or 4 or 5 games. That's big.
No doubt. Pond hockey at MSG, not surprised. I mean, I think we both like the over in some capacity there, Leafs and Rangers. Boy, did that get ugly for the Leafs in the third period. That's the Rangers basically dismantling them in the third period of that game. Not a juggernaut, the Rangers. So that tells you where the Leafs are at right now. 6-2 win for the New York Rangers, so we easily cash the over there. How about the Utah Mammoth? I said, you got to show me you can win on the road when your coach doesn't chew your ass out. And they did that last night against Philadelphia. Very impressive road win for the Mammoth, 3-0, a team that struggled on the road this season. A nice performance by them. Shutout for Vitek Vanacek as well for the Utah Mammoth in that one. Big 2 points for them. How about Tampa Bay? It's officially a swoon. It's officially a slump. Fourth straight loss for the Lightning. 4-1 loss to the Winnipeg Jets in that game. They just have looked out of sorts of late. The offense has kind of cooled off a little bit. Vasilevsky's come back down to earth. I don't think he's been that great the last few starts we've seen him in between the pipes. And hey, it's nothing to panic about for Tampa Bay, but every team, even them, are going to go through it. But this has opened the door for Buffalo. With the combination of the Sabres win and the Lightning loss last night, we now have a tie for first in the Atlantic Division. Now, the Lightning still have 2 games in hand on the Sabres, but they're still tied in points atop the Atlantic Division. Alex, this is just crazy shit. I'm looking at it right, the standings right in front of me. I'm still like mind-boggling, mind-blown about this. The Buffalo Sabres on March the 6th are tied for the division lead. Incredible, preposterous, but amazing, awesome, and I feel great for that fan base. I really do. They've suffered so much, the longest playoff drought currently in the NHL, which looks like it's going to come to an end this season. So just very, very happy for the Sabre fan base. What did not make me happy was the Boston Bruins shitting the bed on the road again. That did not, and that's it. That's it. I'm putting my damn slamming the table right here. That's it. There's not going to be another Bruins bet on the road for me for a very long time. This is ridiculous now. This is absurd with what's happening with Boston. Could you win one freaking road game? Nashville's trading guys left and right, and you're bombed 5-1 at one point in that game by the Nashville Predators. Terrible job by the Boston Bruins. That being said, I'll probably be betting them Saturday because they're going to be angry. They're in bounce-back mode, and they're essentially in the only building they can win in these days, TD Garden, hosting Washington tomorrow. So, I'll probably be interested in backing the Bruins tomorrow in that. But on the road, no, not going to happen anytime soon. No more am I interested in Boston on the road. They just have been – it's pretty crazy to see how porous they've been on the road compared to how just almost lights out they've played at TD Garden this season. So, but give Nashville credit. I mean, they did play hard. I mean, the guys are getting traded. They're talking about Marchessault, being held out of practice today for Nashville, thinking – they might be something happening with him, before the end of the trade, before the trade deadline. But give Nashville credit, but bad job by the Boston Bruins. They're losing 6-3. I got lucky as shit to cash the Ottawa team total over 3.5, but I'll take it. A couple of empty net goals late to turn a 2-1 lead into a 4-1 victory for the Ottawa Senators. We'll take it. And the best bet hits over 5.5. Islanders Kings. That's two overs, Alex, in the DJ Smith era. For LA, I'm telling you, if they keep putting out these 5.5s with Los Angeles games, we're going to keep on. It's going to be mechanical betting for me. Overs with LA if they keep doing that. They're playing extremely fast, up and down, up and down. It was that kind of pace again last night. They can still give up goals, but their offense got going, and you got to give them credit because they are missing a lot of key pieces offensively when you think of Fiala and Kuzmenko and some of the personnel they're missing. So, yeah, LA overs until proven otherwise. They get a 5-3 win against the Islanders, who had a very disappointing back-to-back in Southern California, losing to the Ducks and the Kings on consecutive nights. Alex, anything we wanted to add about what we saw on Thursday?
Yeah, no, I'll just add with that. I was on SportsX Radio with Ken Thompson last night, and I said how I recommended waiting a few minutes and getting that 5.5 into plus money territory. I actually grabbed plus 125 last night with that over 5.5. So to be able to cash that, and like I said, it's a way you can kind of play that. The books aren't making those adjustments right away with LA, and like I said, not realizing that even with the personnel, like I said, being out, DJ Smith's just having a different philosophy as far as the pace of play than Hiller. So until the books make that adjustment, you'll be able to grab some good value not only pregame but in game with that team as well.
Yeah, he sure did, Jonathan. You're right. He had all time in the world. Panarin ordered a cappuccino before he scored that goal for the LA Kings last night. Yeah, there were some defensive blunders that I know are not going to make Patrick Waugh very happy last night. Yeah, how about that goal at the end of the second period? We should bring that up. It's been a while since I've seen that. 1 second, you think, all right, we're just going to get out of this period, LA up 3. They're lucky that didn't cost them. That could have been a turning point. If the Islanders come back and win that game, everyone's talking about that goal they gave up at the end. Clean face-off win, goes right back to Horvat. He rips it right away, and it beats Kemper and beats the clock as well. Puck went in before double zeros appeared on the clock, and 3-1 right before the end of the second period. And I said at the moment, if that could be the opening for the Islanders to get back into this game. And by the way, I had the Islanders money line, which lost, but I also split it, as I mentioned yesterday, with team total over 2.5. Thank you very much. Late in that third period, Emil Heineman getting that third New York Islanders goal with about 2 minutes to go to at least cash. That was the difference between a 1-2 and a 2-1 result for me in that game. It was that third Islanders goal being scored late. So definitely was happy about that. So pretty, like I said, around a break-even night, we'll take it. Like I said, not the best night, but wasn't terrible, break-even. And we move on to a great Friday card, Alex. This is a lot of good games tonight on the slate. We know there's a couple.
We want to mention a couple more trades that have come in. These are smaller depth trades. We don't have to do the ringer or anything for them, but Nick Delorier going to Carolina, that's a move that I like quite a bit.
They need a little of that. I think they can get. They've been pushed around in the playoffs at times in years past. I like it. It makes sense to me. Yes,
it makes a lot of sense to me. I think that's a great fit and a great pickup there. And Elmer Soderblom moving from Detroit to Pittsburgh. So that's an interesting kind of pick. I'm not sure if that maybe more of a long haul kind of a decision there for Pittsburgh, but that was an interesting trade.
All right, Florida, Detroit to get things rolling on this Friday night. We've got Detroit minus 150, home favorite, 6 the total, shaded to the over. You know, it's I can't believe we're at this point, but it's pretty much at the point for me where fade Florida is basically the mantra at the moment. You know, it's a team now that's lost to New Jersey and Columbus this week. It's a back-to-back here for the Florida Panthers. Rest advantage for Detroit. Detroit's not going to be happy with that third period. And they were the author of their own demise. We were on the BetCast Wednesday night. You can't sit back like that to that extent against Vegas in the third period with a 3-1 lead. You're asking for trouble, and Detroit found trouble, ended up losing that game by a score of 4-3. This is what, you know, I'm not a big regulation price guy. I don't bet many regulations, but I split Detroit between team total over 3.5 at plus 112. So Red Wings team total over 3.5 plus 112. Split that with the Detroit in regulation here in this game tonight. And you can find Detroit in regulation, like I said, reasonable price, closer to even money here in this game tonight against Florida. I think Florida is a pretty easy candidate to be betting against right now. Let's not be fooled by the final score. It was closer than, you know, Columbus was in control. Columbus was up 3-0. I think the Jackets were a little guilty of taking their foot off the gas pedal last night. So we'll see how this one plays out. John Gibson's already been confirmed in between the pipes for Detroit, which is big because obviously he got injured against Nashville Monday, didn't play Wednesday against Vegas. Cam Talbot got that start, so Gibson's back in net, and he obviously has played pretty solid. There's an option, too, that Robert, I think it's Robert, no, it's Jonathan. Detroit and over 5.5 combo. Detroit money line and over 5.5 combo. I don't mind that at all. That's actually a good value at plus 173. Another way to go about it. But what I did was Detroit in regulation split with Detroit team total over 3.5 here plus 112. Alex, Panthers, Red Wings.
It's funny. I was actually looking at the price for the Red Wings was over 4.5, but even at 5.5 plus 173, those are decent prices and decent ways to attack it. I also grabbed a piece of that regulation money line. I got plus 107. Offshore, so shop around with that. But like I said, this is now the time we should fade Florida, and I can see this continuing to be kind of just just a tumble down toward the bottom of Florida. You know, they had their run. Obviously, things will be retooled for the future and what happens next season. But this is a spot for Detroit to get 2 points, and I know a lot of people aren't happy right now on Twitter with the lack of moves that Detroit has had on this deadline day, thinking that they were going to try and grab Robert Thomas, try and grab some other pieces.
Why are you bitching if you're a Red Wing fan? Don't you know how Steve Yzerman operates? This has been every year he's operated like this on trade deadline day. Why are we shocked anymore? Come on.
Yeah, but I guess they figured, and this is the team where they should really be going all in for it. You know, if you can make a big-time splash and a big-time move, by all means, now's the time to do it. But that being said, this is still big 2 points against a division team. I like Detroit here to get the win. So regulation money line, team total, I would agree with as well. And like I say, you can combine that with either over 4.5 or 5.5 on a parlay.
There's a couple of good shots I like for Detroit for goal props tonight. I'm swinging for the fences here. Give me Emmett Finney. Emmett Finney for Detroit. He scored in back-to-back games for them, starting to heat up. You're getting him in that plus 700 price range for a goal prop tonight, plus 700 at Betway, FanDuel, DraftKings. And give me Simon Edvinsson, the big Swedish defenseman on the blue line for Detroit. 11-1. He scored in 3 of the last 5 games for this Detroit Red Wings team. And we saw him jump into the rush with a beautiful play, a beautiful goal against Vegas on Wednesday night. I mean, 3 of the last 5 games, and you can get 1,100 on Simon Edvinsson here for Detroit to find the back of the net. So, Finney and Edvinsson are worth a shot there. My two props I like quite a bit here for Detroit as far as value goes. I mean, I love the value here that you're getting with both of those. I guess for Florida, and Florida stopped scoring too. That's another issue during this 4-game losing streak. They've now been held to 2 or fewer goals, 3 of those 4 losses. And another thing with why I like the team total for Detroit over 3.5, Florida's given up 4+ in 3 straight games. So you can see the defense the defensive intensity is lacking right now for Florida, and it's understandable. Now that they know, hey, we're not making the playoffs, we're not going to have a chance to three-peat. So, team totals against Florida, like I said, are cashing right now because you're seeing a drop in intensity defensively, knowing this team's not making the playoffs. Not to mention, it's just not been a good year for Sergei Bobrovsky, and that's been part of the problem as well. All right, next up, this is a hell of a game. Colorado, Dallas, Central Division showdown. We've got Colorado minus 120, road favorites. The total here sitting at 6. These trades took place last night. I know we didn't mention them earlier, but Tyler Myers and Michael Bunting, the new additions here for the Dallas Stars, gives them another forward option. When Michael Bunting's got his head screwed on straight, not taking dumb penalties, which he can do on occasion, loses discipline every now and then, but he's another guy that can score some goals for you. He's going to go to the areas of the net you want come playoff time. He'll be right there in front of the net, irritating the opposing goaltender. That's his game, and that's the kind of player you don't mind adding to your team and adding to your roster right now as well. So that is definitely what I like about them adding Bunting. And Tyler Myers gives them more depth on the blue line. And again, you're adding a guy with size. And with what we've seen in the Stanley Cup playoffs, with teams making deep runs the last few years, adding more size to the blue line is never a bad idea. So, I like that here as far as Tyler Myers on that blue line and going back home to Texas as well. So that's going to be interesting to see how they fare. Matty Robb in the chat saying they're both out tonight, though. Yeah, they just got there. It wouldn't shock me if they're not in. I think plus the way I get what Glenn Gulletson might be thinking here, too. His team's playing great hockey, and you're playing a big-time game against Colorado. Is this the night you want to bring in these 2 new guys and risk upsetting the apple cart a little bit, when you've been playing so well as a team during this win streak? That's really the big question you got to ask yourself here. When you look at the matchup here, Colorado's come out of the break, going 3-1. They lost the first game, actually the second game out of the break. They did beat Utah. They lost to Minnesota. They're 4-1 since the Olympic break ended. And playing pretty well themselves. I was impressed with the back-to-back where they beat Anaheim 5-1, after beating LA the night before. Dallas on this 10-game win streak right now. It's worth noting we just have the one regular season meeting between these 2 teams earlier this season. It was in Colorado. 5-4 Dallas win in a shootout in that game. I'm going to take a shot with the Dallas Stars here. Plus 100. I am. They got a home dog price. They're on this 10-game win streak. They're 18-7-3 at home. Colorado's been at least a little bit more, beatable, I guess is the word, on the road compared to at home. So I'm going to take a shot with Dallas. The draw, because the previous meeting went to overtime earlier this year, I'll take a shot with that. And I love this over by Facta. It's just been, for some reason, you get Colorado versus Dallas head-to-head, there's goals. And both teams, especially Dallas, their offensive form is humming right now. How many times have they scored 4+ during this win streak, the Dallas Stars? You got Colorado coming in here, having scored 4+ goals in 3 of their 5 games since the break, and 9 in the last 2 games combined. So, and you look at head-to-head with this series between them, 5-4 in the regular season earlier this year. Now, we did have the playoff series last year, but again, the last 3 games of that series went over the total, I should say. And then you go back to the regular season games prior to the playoff meeting last year, last January, last March, 6-3 and 4-3 were the final scores. Those also went over the total. So I'm on the bifecta, but I have more of it on the full game over with this one, over 6 here with Colorado and Dallas. Great game, though. I'm looking forward to this one quite a bit. It's a big one in the standings. I think for Dallas, it's almost, I don't want to say a must-get. There's no must-win on March 6th. But you know what I mean? You've got an opportunity to really give yourself a chance to be in the mix to win the Central Division and overtake Colorado if you win this game tonight. We'll see if they can step up and get the job done here. Alex, what do you think? Colorado, Dallas.
Yeah, that's funny. I like the draw on this one, but you go to FanDuel, you do not find either team to win in overtime or a shootout. So it seems like the book's kind of catching on. This could be a close battle, certainly with this pick and price. So I lean with Dallas in this spot. More than likely, we'll grab a piece of Dallas, especially since they are the underdogs here. But like I said, it's a big game for them. And if they want to try and overtake Colorado, get that number 1 seed, certainly getting that home ice range, this is a important game. And like I said, I felt like it's going to be played like a playoff game, kind of tight. I'm going to wait for that over by Fecta. And like I said, more so with that full game over, seeing a 5.5 minus 140 at FanDuel. So we'll try and get that at a better price. And like I said, maybe this one goes a little bit slower where you don't even want it first period over. So definitely want to wait and see what that over by Fecta in game, but pre-game I am on the draw. Plus 310 was the price that I got over at Bet Online.
Well, we have some good news for Dallas. The bad news is there's still no Mikko Rantanen. Obviously, he's still out. But the good news is Roope Hintz has been activated from injured reserve and will suit up and will make his return to the lineup tonight for the Dallas Stars. And what a time for him, to draw back into the lineup with this big matchup against the Colorado Avalanche. Yeah, when I look at this, the standings right now, they're 6 points back of Colorado, and Colorado still has a game in hand on Dallas. So this is very important. I mean, Dallas, I don't want to say they can't win the division anymore if they lose tonight, but boy, the chances would take a huge hit, obviously, if they don't win this game tonight against the Colorado Avalanche. I like Ross Colton for value on the second line with Nelson and Nichushkin. Landeskog on the top line as far as a goal prop for Colorado. Dallas, Robertson, Hintz, and Wyatt Johnston looks like that's going to be the top line. Sam Steele, Matt Duchene, Jamie Benn. Matt Duchene's been starting to heat up lately for Dallas. I know Matt cashed a Sam Steele bargain bin recently for the Dallas Stars. I could see him maybe finding the back of the net. I could have sworn he scored against Colorado, whether it was regular season or in that playoff series last year. I have some kind of memories of him scoring for against Colorado. So, like I said, I could see maybe him finding the back of the net here for the Dallas Stars tonight. But yeah, obviously this is definitely one of, if not the marquee game of the night. Nate just has scored in back-to-back games, by the way, for the Dallas Stars as well. Something to keep in mind. And like I said, very much looking forward to this one. Can't say I'm looking forward to this next one, although Alex might be still because it's his team. The Vancouver Canucks taking on the Chicago Blackhawks. We've got Chicago minus 140, minus 145, home favorites, 5.5 the total, or 6.5. There's 1 5.5. There's mostly 6s, and there's a couple 6.5. So it's this total is all over the place. So make sure you shop around from book to book, depending on which side of the fence you fall on with the total, either over or under. You know where I fall on with this game, and I don't say this very often on this show, a complete and utter pass. I have nothing pregame here. No side, no total, not even the draw. Not even the draw do I love necessarily in this game. I'd lean to the draw a little bit, but, you got two teams that have obviously been busy the last 24 to 48 hours. You got players mostly going out for both of these teams here at the trade deadline. We've seen Nick Foligno traded away, Connor Murphy traded away with Chicago, Jason Dickinson, and of course for Vancouver, Connor Garland, Tyler Myers. So you're going to have just a hodgepodge of lineup configuration adjustments really on both sides. This is just a watch game for me. If I bet anything here, it's going to be live. Nothing pregame. Alex, you got any thoughts here? Canucks, Blackhawks.
Yeah, I like this over at 6 minus $1.05. Play it smaller. You can try and wait. Like I said, if you see a 5.5 and try and get a little bit better adjusted price. But I think the lineup changes will be more evident for Vancouver than Chicago. Okay, Nick Foligno's out. So now you just, slide in Slagger to one of the other, depth forwards that you've been trying to rotate around for the last.
Mangiapane looks like he's going to make his Hawks debut on the fourth line. I see he's in.
Mangiapane is in. So this is a Hawks team where now I'm actually excited to watch the Hawks the rest of the way, because we'll start seeing some more of these younger kids getting into the lineup, getting these chances, seeing what they can do. And like I said, it's going to be a game where they just kind of roll the puck out, playing at home. I expect goals here both ways in this spot. So I like that over 6. Like I said, minus $1.05 available at BetMGM. It's the only play that I have right now. And I'm looking at a bargain bin in this game as well.
First round, third round, and a prospect for Braden Shen going to the St. Louis Blues. So there you go. The Blues get a first round, a third round, and a prospect. Not bad. Pretty solid, actually, that they were able to get that for Braden Shen.
And can everybody calm the fuck down with this? Let's name Connor Bedard the captain now that Nick Foligno's gone. It's going to happen at some
No,
point.
give him the
It's
A. It's the
probably
right thing to do. It's don't rush
right.
it. The A is the
He's
perfect
probably
thing for
going
him
to
right
get.
now.
He's probably going to get the C when he signs his contract extension, which I believe will happen at some point too. I could see that being a whole big rollout. He's going to sign the contract. They're going to have the press conference, and then they're going to bring out that New Jersey with that big old C on it. But in the meantime, everybody's just freaking out. Hawks fans have been absolutely just abysmal on Twitter the last 72 hours. I have to call them out. You got people who are losing their shit over Colton Dock leaving, as if he's one of the fucking key pieces for this rebuild. Like I just thought that was asinine. Jason Dickinson, yes, he's a solid player, but he can't stay healthy. The fact that we were able to get any kind of a high pick for him was a great deal. Like I said, Nick Foligno, he did his job. He was fantastic as captain the last couple of years. I'd love to see him come back to Chicago wearing a suit as an assistant coach. I've said this multiple times. I think his playing days are his top playing days are behind him at this point. But he's done a great job leading this team. It's great that the Hawks organization gave him the opportunity to go play with his brother up here in Minnesota. Although, like I said, I don't think that's necessarily what the Wild need. But people are losing their fucking minds. They're like, Connor Bedard, does he have anybody to play with? Like, are you shitting me right now? Like, the future is here. The future is finally here. All the kids we've been talking about, all the kids that Kyle Davidson and these guys have been hyping up in these drafts the last couple years are finally going to come through, and we're finally going to get to see them all play together. Like, be excited about that. People are freaking out about these guys leaving like they were going to be the missing link, the Rosetta Stone to getting us back in the playoff race. It's fucking absurd.
Yeah, I mean it's Jason Dickinson and Connor Murphy and Nick Foligno. Like
Connor. We bitched about Connor Murphy for the last 5 years being defensively irresponsible, and now he's gone. And everybody's just like, "Oh my god, such great leader in the locker room and such a great community guy." Yeah. It's like if you're leading off with those points, and guess what? He didn't do his entire fucking job on the ice for 8 seasons.
There you go. We'll get to Edmonton in a bit. They're going to hope Connor Murphy does his quote-unquote fucking job for them because they're looking for any sort of defensive assistance and help, and they're hoping Connor Murphy can be a piece to the solution defensively for the Edmonton Oilers. We'll get to that in just a bit. Yeah, I don't mind that. Höglander goal prop simply because that, when you go as long as he did without scoring and you finally see the puck go in, sometimes you know how that works. Sometimes you can get on a little bit of a run and get your confidence back. The floodgates can open. So from a situational element, I don't mind that. Liam Ogren is probably what I'm going to sprinkle for Vancouver. He's with Pettersson and Karlsson on the top line. Liam Ogren, Drew O'Connor, Rossi. Those two could be worth a look. I think Alex has got a good, legit, logical thought process here that this could be just pond hockey, and plus Chicago is icing a faster lineup tonight. There's no question. I mean, that's the one thing about you take a Nick Foligno and a Jason Dickinson off the team. You're going to have a little bit more team speed, a little bit more of offensive ability probably as well. So that's something to factor in. This could be a little bit of a faster Hawks lineup that Jeff Blashill is putting on the ice here tonight and moving forward. All right, Montreal, Anaheim. This is a good one. We've got Montreal, Anaheim, even money, -110 both sides, 6.5 the total in this game. By the way, the goaltending matchup, I think it's going to be Tolopilo here for this one, yes, as far as the goaltending for Vancouver. Tolopilo's confirmed. Blackwood and Ottinger, by the way, in Colorado, Dallas. Montembeault and Dostal in this game. I'll tell you something I love in this game, especially coming off Montreal losing 7-5 to San Jose. Sometimes you just bet what you've seen. What have we seen? We've seen Anaheim give up the first goal, fall behind in every game since the Olympic break ended. Give me Montreal, first goal, first period here tonight. I love that look. Montreal's not going to be happy. Montreal losing 7-5 to San Jose. We know Anaheim's been a habitual slow starter in these games coming out of the Olympic break. I mean, you go back and look, every game after the Olympic break, Anaheim gave up the first goal. And Montreal coming off the loss, I see a fast start for them. So my thought process here is Montreal first goal, first period. And if they do take the lead, you damn well know I'll be interested in Anaheim live at some point because they're the cardiac kids. They've become the comeback kids lately, the Anaheim Ducks. But I really like the first goal, first period look for Montreal here in this game tonight. I like the over by Fecta too, but I'm going to wait for this to get a little cheaper early in the first period. It's a little too pricey right now. You know what I mean? 6.5 is -135, -140 in some spots. And same with the first period over. That price currently at most books is around -170, -160. You got to wait a little bit for that to occur, for that to drop before you bet it. So we'll look at a lot in-game live over by Fecta. But I like Montreal first goal, first period, and my plan is to bet Anaheim live if they fall behind. Alex, what do you think here in this one, Montreal, Anaheim?
I will tell you on that Habs first goal of first period, because I liked both teams to score in the first period. I actually got plus 155 with that earlier today. Now I'm seeing plus 146 at FanDuel, plus 150, so shop around. But that's kind of the way to grab that a little bit earlier in case you get 2 goals really quickly with Montreal and then Anaheim coming right back. You may not have time to grab that first period over adjusted. So Habs to score first goal, first period, plus 125. Both teams to score in the first, now at plus 146. I still don't mind it with that drop off. And like I said, looking for Anaheim in game if they're trailing, especially if they're trailing late in the contest. So something after the second period definitely will be a little heavier on Anaheim money line.
Yeah, 3.32 goals against, 886 save percentage since mid-January for tonight's starter for Montreal, Sam Montembeault. But he's getting the start in net, which I knew was going to happen because, Dobish was in net for that game against San Jose. And if most coaches, when you see a team lose and give up 7 goals, you're going to give the goalie a rest the next time you play. So not surprised, that Montembeault's in net. Dostal, of course, in net for Anaheim. Dostal's kind of had a post-Olympic hangover too. He's been okay. He hasn't been phenomenal, Dostal, since the Olympic break. So again, I like the overs, but I'm just going to try to take my chance to wait to get a better number, better price in game during the game. But like I said, I really like the Montreal first goal, first period. I think I'm just confirming it. Yeah. Making sure I got it right. I'm pretty sure I had. Yeah. 5 games for Anaheim after the Olympic break. Edmonton, Winnipeg, Calgary, Colorado, New York Islanders. They gave up the first goal in every one of those games, Anaheim. And I think in most of those games, it was in the first period too. So, yeah, I think the Montreal first goal, first period makes a lot of sense here. As far as props go for this Montreal and Anaheim game, Cutter Gauthier has scored in 3 straight games for Anaheim. I mean, you're not getting the great prices with him now, plus 140, but, I mean, you can't argue with it, that's for sure. You look at Oliver Kapanen, again, he's starting to heat up, scored in the last game for the for the Montreal Canadiens, rather, plus 400. He's someone to maybe consider as far as a goal prop. Paling is someone that stepped up as a depth scoring weapon for Anaheim of late. Keep that in mind. There's some good numbers from Jonathan as far as players for the Ducks that have had success scoring on Sam Montembeault. Vetrano with 4 goals against Montembeault. Kreider with 4 goals against Montembeault. McTavish with 4 goals against Montembeault. So there is definitely a few looks there. Yeah, and I agree with that too, Jonathan. Slavkovsky. Marty St. Louis giving him the push to the top line for the Canadiens tonight. Actually, he's been there before, but they're going to see if they can get that magic going again with Suzuki and Caulfield on the top line for the Montreal Canadiens. So, like I said, there's probably some decent value there as far as his goal props, getting that bump to the top unit tonight for the Montreal Canadiens. All right, Carolina, Edmonton. We've got Carolina. This is another good game. Carolina, I guess slight road favorites is what we're looking at right now. -110 to -115. The total here, 6.5. So I'm on over 6. I told you I'd be betting Edmonton over 6.5 until a game of theirs finally goes under. And what is it, 10 or 11 straight Edmonton? I've lost count, but it's 10 or 11 straight Edmonton games that have had at least 7 goals scored in the game. So I'm on it again, 11 straight with at least 7+ goals. So I'm on over 6.5, but little smaller bet here, and here's why. Because everything that Edmonton has done at the trade deadline, and it looks like all their reinforcements, all their new additions are going to make their debut tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. Connor Murphy on the blue line, Jason Dickinson up front. They're both going to be in there for the Colton Dach as well. All 3 of them former Blackhawks. They're all going to play tonight. These are all guys that are supposed to make you better defensively. They're supposed to anyway. They're supposed to make you, they're not going to give you a ton of offense, but but they're going to make you better defensively. So, does tonight, I can't see it taking hold right away that, wow, all of a sudden, here's Connor Murphy, here's Jason Dickinson. And I love Jason Dickinson as a shutdown defensive center. That's where he's really good. He's really good in that role. But are they going to gel right away? Is the chemistry going to be there right away? This is 3 players debuting on a team and trying to get used to their teammates for the very first time. It could still take another game or 2 for them to really get comfortable and then to notice maybe the improvements defensively with this Edmonton Oilers team. And even with the new additions in the lineup, Murphy, Dickinson, Doc, I've got to see it before I believe it, that they're improving defensively. So we're going to ride it. It's 11 straight Oilers games to 7+ goals. So over 6.5 for me. It's really the only pregame bet I've got. The side, I don't know. Carolina worried me what I saw from them against Vancouver. They were supposed to put that team away, and you gave up 4 goals and you let them hang around. So, Edmonton has the chance probably to score here tonight in this game, and I know they're going to probably face Brandon Bussey in net for the Carolina Hurricanes. But Brandon Bussey's had a couple chinks in the armor lately. The last couple of times we've seen him, I think the Olympic break kind of hurt him a little bit as well, because he gave up 4 goals in that game to Vancouver. He gave up 4 goals against Tampa Bay. How many times, Alex, did Brandon Bussey give up 4 goals before the Olympic break? And now all of a sudden he's given up 4 goals in back-to-back games. I'm telling you, the break might have hurt the momentum and just the rhythm of Brandon Bussey in net a little bit. So I think Edmonton can score on this Carolina team. And Carolina, obviously, with Tristan Jarhead in net, that's what I'm calling him now because he's terrible at the moment. Jarhead, Tristan Jarry for the Edmonton Oilers. He's going to start in net for them. I got to see him put a freaking good game on the board before I believe that. It has been not just bad, it's been horrendous for Tristan Jarry the last several times we've seen him. So, yeah, over 6.5 is the pregame bet for me. We'll see as far as sides. Anything side-wise, I'll attack in-game. What do you think here, Alex? Carolina, Edmonton.
Yeah, it's another one where I played both teams to score in the first period. Got plus 148 with that one. And we'll try and look for a 6 flat with this live in-game over. But like I said, just that's the only way you can kind of look at Edmonton now. Just goals galore. And like I said, Carolina, Bussey looking a little bit more human. That's not the certainly what Carolina wants to see right now. You want him to kind of continue that hot run, which I know it's just not feasible, but you want him to at least if he's going to struggle now, you want him to get back on track before the end of the regular season in mid-April. So, like I said, this could be one where it's back and forth. And like I said, I think we'll have enough time to wait maybe to grab a little bit of a cheaper price on 6.5 or even grab a flat 6. But both teams to score in the first period pregame for me.
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to tack that on too. I could see 1-1 because they're very capable of seeing a 1-1 first period. That would have cashed easily if you were betting it the other night when it was Ottawa and Edmonton. How quick was that? Both teams to score in I think it was the first 5 minutes of the first period of that game that you would have cashed your BTTS tickets in the first period with the Sens and the Oilers. As far as props for this game tonight, I love that second line for Carolina, Taylor Hall, Stankoven and Blake. I wouldn't talk anyone out of looking at those 3 players. Ehlers is probably, now it's plus 250. It's not bargain bin worthy, but David C. mentioned this in our chat, and I agree with him. Nikolai Ehlers is finding his footing. He's getting in that comfort zone finally with this Carolina Hurricanes team. It took a while, but Nikolai Ehlers really starting to percolate for the Hurricanes in recent games. 3 straight games with a goal for Draisaitl. Yeah, and I'm going to take a shot that the Boost bomb has an impact on this game because Evan Bouchard has scored in back-to-back games for the Edmonton Oilers, and you're getting plus 380 for him to find the back of the net, and he has been shooting the puck a lot, and obviously it's been finding the back of the net in back-to-back games for the Edmonton Oilers. So at that price, knowing that Bouchard has scored in back-to-back games, I think it's probably worth a shot there as well for Edmonton as far as a goal prop tonight. And as always, too, they haven't scored of late, but as I've always said when Edmonton plays, who's playing with Draisaitl? Right now, tonight, it looks to be Roslovic and Matt Savoy. So there's probably some value with their props as well. All right, 2 games left. Next up, we've got St. Louis, San Jose. San Jose minus 130, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. Blues, a team that have been very active, although one St. Louis Blues player that we know is not moving anywhere is Colton Parayko. There was still some talk after he refused to waive the no trade for the deal to Buffalo, that he still would accept a deal in the West somewhere, but he has officially made it known that, no, I'm going to stand pat. I'm going to stay put here in St. Louis. So Colton Parayko is not going anywhere. I don't know. It's Sharks or pass for me, don't get me wrong, and they've had a nice little homestand here. St. Louis, it makes no sense, but St. Louis is playing better the more guys get traded. They've actually won 3 of their last 4. They have a winning record, 3-1 since the Olympic break ended. They've beaten some teams that are battling for playoff positioning, 2 wins against Seattle and a win against Minnesota. I don't think it's a slam dunk, San Jose tonight. And I don't love it coming off the big-time win against Montreal. It was a crazy game back and forth, and they pulled it out 7-5 over Montreal. You know what I mean? Is this young group, I could see them maybe being prone to a little bit of a lackluster showing. I'm obviously not betting against San Jose. You know how much I like this team, but it's also them as a favorite. How many times have we've been burned? We've put our hand into the jar and we've been burned here a few times with San Jose as a favorite. Jonathan will confirm it. They have a losing record as a favorite this year, San Jose. So this is not the right role. It's not the right spot to take San Jose, at least for me. We'll see in the game. This is a live betting game for me. I mean, obviously, when you look at these two teams, St. Louis has actually played 3 straight unders. The defense has actually been good. Hofer and Binnington, mostly Hofer, has been really good of late for this Blues team. Nedeljkovic will get the start, by the way, in net tonight for the San Jose Sharks. Alex Nedeljkovic confirmed. Yeah, I mean, it's just I'm not feeling San Jose tonight. I'm done betting on them as a favorite. I've been burned too many times. I mean, I took them against someone recently as a favorite, and it was Calgary, for crying out loud, and they couldn't even beat Calgary as a favorite at home. So, no, I'm not on San Jose tonight. Alex, what do you think? St. Louis, San Jose?
Not so fast, my friend. I am on San Jose. I got regulation money line plus 122. You mentioned Alex Nedeljkovic getting the start. He signed a 2-year contract extension, getting him $6 million over the next couple of years. So that's nice little pickup. So they've got their goaltending kind of solidified now. And I think for San Jose, this is a spot. You're right there in the wild card race. You have a chance to be a playoff team now. You are at that cut line where, other teams have decided to wave the white flag. You're right there in the mix. And you get wins against teams who are objectively worse than you. You should be able to pick up 2 points at home against St. Louis in this spot, with St. Louis having pieces moving around, guys deciding not to move. There's still a lot of influx, and that's got to be tough for guys, right, who, hey, we're going to send you somewhere. No, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to stay here. But they know that their time's going to be coming at some point. They know that this is kind of the end of the road with those teams, even if they aren't getting dealt today. So I think there may be more of a disarray with St. Louis than it is with San Jose. I think for San Jose, they've got their head screwed on straight. You're at home. You get 2 points against the inferior team. So give me the Sharks here in regulation.
There you go. I get it. I shouldn't be trusting St. Louis this much to win, but at the same point in time, San Jose's burned me a few times when this favorites roll. But tonight, you should think this is a St. Louis team that's now thin. They've traded some pieces, and have some focus for San Jose. Keep your eye on the prize. Don't get satisfied. Okay, you had a great thrilling win against Montreal. Take care of business here. These are games you got to get 2 points in. We'll see if they can do that. I'll certainly bet San Jose live if they fall behind. That is going to be my goal, because I could see them maybe falling behind, and then maybe I'll jump in then live with the San Jose Sharks. There are some props that I like for this game, though, that is for sure. Holloway, got to bet Dylan Holloway. He's heating up again. At the moment, and this could change because we're a couple minutes away from the deadline, but at the moment, there's been no Robert Thomas movement for the St. Louis Blues, which means he could still be with the team. And if he is, he'll be in the lineup tonight. And if he is, we got to bet him to score. Even though obviously he's not going to be showcasing himself anymore for potential trade suitors, the fact remains it's still above plus 300 for him to score a goal. And he scored in 3 straight games for the St. Louis Blues, plus 330. Got to bet it if he's still a member of this team after the deadline, and if he's still in the lineup tonight. Michael Misa, we got to bet plus 425. He scored in 3 straight games for the San Jose Sharks, plus 425 at DraftKings. That's a must bet at that price. He's been excellent. Colin Graff, is he still on the top line? Let me just do a quick check. The answer is yes, with Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith So Colin Graff is worth a look. Holloway, Thomas, Graff, Misa. I'm telling you, I love those props. 2 on each team. Holloway, Thomas, Blues, Misa, Graff, Sharks, and I'd be shocked if we don't win at least 1 or 2 of those. I love them. I love those. Those are 4 of my favorite props on the whole night with goal props here on this Friday NHL slate. Good stuff. On we go to the last game. This is another good game. I mean, this is just one of these nights where we got so many games where we got 2 good teams, 2 playoff teams facing each other. This is another one, Minnesota and Vegas. Well, I don't know how good Vegas has been lately, but they are still a good team, a playoff team. They haven't played like it lately. But nevertheless, it's a good matchup. Wild, Golden Knights, even money, -110 both sides, 6 the total in this game. So first and foremost, we're on the over again. That being said, there's some signs it's cooling off. We had the under against St. Louis for Minnesota on the weekend. We had a kind of a fortunate push with the Minnesota-Tampa Bay over the other night in that game. So there's some signs that this over streak is starting to slow down, starting to cool off a little bit, starting to taper off a little bit for the Minnesota Wild. But I'm on it one more time. I still haven't lost 2 in a row with these Minnesota Wild overs, so we're on over 6. I don't trust Vegas early in this game. This is a long road trip they've had coming out of the break. I'm not that impressed with the comeback. Detroit opened the door for them to come back because they sat back, did nothing in the third period, and Vegas took advantage. Everyone's saying, what a character win for Vegas. Bullshit. Detroit opened the door for them with terrible decision to just sit back, let Vegas hammer away at them, and eventually they were able to tie that game. Character win, my ass. I mean, Detroit just opened the door for Vegas in that game. They're still without Mark Stone. That's still a loss. That's a 5-game road trip coming out of the Olympic break. First game home. Go and look at Vegas's first game home after road trip spots this year. They've been awful in these situations for the most part. You go back to early in the season, they had a 3-game road trip, Utah, and I'm Utah. They lost to Ottawa when they came back home. They had a 5-game road trip in December. Jersey, Rangers, Islanders, Flyers, Jackets. Came back home and lost to the lowly New Jersey Devils in the first game home. They've had some real bad situations like that. January, Boston, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, 4-game Eastern road trip. What did they do? Come back home and lose to Dallas 5-4. And I remember that game. It was close, but Dallas jumped on them early, and Vegas had a comeback late. So Vegas has been awful in these situations, coming home off a long road trip. Give me Minnesota first period. Give me Minnesota first goal first period, which I like quite a bit here in this game. I like Minnesota to win the game too, but I'm going to go smaller on the full game. I really like the first period looks on Minnesota most of all. So Minnesota first goal first period, Minnesota first period money line. Really liking those looks here in this game, along with that full game over. I'm going to keep the full game money line bet on Minnesota smaller. Oh, and the draw too. We have some good draw history here. Minnesota and Vegas head to head. This is my one draw spot. I don't think I've bet a draw on this card other than this one game. 3 of the last 5 between the Golden Knights and the Wild have gone past regulation. So I'll get in on the draw as well. Alex, what do you think? Minnesota, Vegas.
Yeah, it's my only pregame bet here is the draw grabs plus 315 earlier at Bet Online. This is a great draw season spot. Like I said, with 3 of the last 5 meetings going past regulation as well. Definitely one where I cash in on. Lean with Minnesota in this spot. Was trying to find Minnesota to win in overtime or shootout. I'm not seeing that prop anywhere. So maybe FanDuel might have finally taken that down. But like I said, this definitely leans like it could be like I said, a tougher game for Vegas, but would not shock me one bit if this takes a little bit longer than 60. Maybe even shootout as well for this game.
So first goal, first period. This market's become a godsend. I love it. I can't get enough of first goal, first period. I think Alex likes that market too, right, Alex? You're loving this, right? This first goal, first period stuff. It's absolutely tremendous. 2 first goal, first period looks stand out above the rest tonight for me. I mentioned Montreal earlier. That's one. And the other is this one, Minnesota. I really love those first goal, first period looks in both of those games tonight. Hopefully 2-0. When it comes to that. And yeah, I think it's a great thought, Jonathan. Exactly what I was thinking. We've seen it. They flashed the graphic up on the screen during the Vegas-Detroit broadcast the other night, how this is the team that's got the most goals scored in the third period, Vegas. It's why I like Minnesota early more than for the full game. I love the early looks on Minnesota, more than the full game. There you go. Justin Falk to the Detroit Red Wings, it looks like. We've got another deal announced, another Blues player on his way elsewhere. So that'll be and that's another piece missing on the blue line, but for the St. Louis Blues. But yeah, it looks like there you go. Oh, and Bobby McMahon to Seattle as well. So there you go. Bobby McMahon from the Toronto Maple Leafs to the Seattle Kraken. We don't know the return yet for Toronto. Did they get the first round pick they were hoping for in a Bobby McMahon trade? That remains to be seen. But there you go. Justin Falk from St. Louis to Detroit, defenseman, and Bobby McMahon, winger, from Toronto to Seattle. There you go. It's actually a good move for Seattle. The guy's fast. He can score. Yeah. They need some of that. I still worry about them offensively at times, the Seattle Kraken. So I like that for Seattle. Now we'll see what they gave up for him. That's the question.
Yeah, I think that's a great pickup for Seattle. I think there's got to be something good coming back for Toronto, because if you're just going to lose him for just a mid-round pick, that would be disastrous, I think.
There you go. Addison, very good. Addison bringing his A game here. He brings his A game all the time, but, puts together our great Ice Guys Greatest Hits playlist, too. Keeps that going when we add new songs to it. But first goal, Minnesota, 61% of the time. Vegas, 43% of the time. So there you go. Minnesota's done a better job getting on the board early. So there you go. Cole saying, don't go small on the Wild, Winnie, and go to, he's confident, Cole. So there you go. I should be too then. All right, good stuff. Vegas sucks. They do right now. I'm not kidding. I couldn't believe the narrative coming out of that game. What a character win. That dig down deep win for this Vegas team. Now they're back. No. Did you watch Detroit? I mean, they just basically said, you know what? Come on, Vegas. You come back and win this game. Here you go. I mean, I'm not giving Vegas too much credit for that nonsense. Personally, they got to show me a lot more than that. And like I said, being without Mark Stone still does hurt for them. No question. All right, that's great. Great show. Shout out to everyone. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. A great Friday card. This is one of the better Friday night cards of the entire NHL season. I'm very much excited, looking forward to it. WizardSportsPicks.com. Get on board. Big college basketball card. Now number one on the website in college basketball. It's been a great run. Number one in the NHL. Profitable in NBA. Get on board. Daily premium picks. Long-term subscriptions as well. 3-day, 7-day, 30-day, 1 year all sports access passes. And, of course, Beyond the Lines. I did the video for Friday, as I always do. Check it out. WizardSportsPicks.com. And, of course, Patreon.com/IceGuys, $10 per month. Goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. We thank everyone for coming on board on the Patreon the last month. And, of course, lots of Patreon-exclusive live betcast nights coming up, especially once we get into April. So make sure you get on board. Just $10 per month. Again, your membership goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long term. $10 per month, patreon.com/IceGuys.
And also check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. You got 3 days left to save 25% off all items in the store. Just hit the redeem button at the homepage, add all your items to your cart. 25% will be taken off at checkout. Like I said, springtime is right around the corner, so it's a great time to get a new hoodie, get a cap, a t-shirt, all three of the above. We've got polo shirts there as well. We've got some tank tops for the summertime. So we've got a whole list of things. Check them out. 25% off in the next 3 days. iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Ryan Strome to Calgary from the Anaheim Ducks. So a little salary relief there for the Anaheim Ducks. That's clearly what that move is designed to do. So there you go. Another trade in the again, you're going to get a couple more trades probably announced because, like I said, you get this every year at the NHL Trade Deadline Day. Even after the deadline passes, 3 p.m. Eastern, you usually get a couple of trades finalized and announced after the deadline passes. So that's what you're getting right now. The last-minute deals that just get done under the wire. That's basically what you're hearing about right now. You know what you're going to be hearing about next? Bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guy sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
Leave it all there, just so I can.
All right, bargain bin special of the night. And yes, unfortunately, a rare dry night for the bargain bin special yesterday. Everyone, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's probably going to happen, maybe a little bit more at some point, but can't win them every night. But I like this card a lot from a bargain bin special perspective. But Alex, we'll start with you. Bargain bin special of the night.
All right, we got two of them. We will first start with that Vancouver game against Chicago, and it says a lot of moving parts for both teams, but one person who I know is staying within that top six, staying with the Blackhawks. It's Ryan Donato. Get him anytime goal scorer plus 475 at DraftKings. The decent price. That'll be my first bargain bin special tonight. The second one comes from that San Jose game. We're talking about. It says a lot of guys to choose from. One guy that I had took a shot with the other day, Colin Graff. You can still get him in the bargain bin range. Anytime goal scorer plus 320. That'll be my second bargain bin special tonight. So Ryan Donato, anytime goal plus 475 for Chicago. Colin Graff, anytime goal scorer plus 320 for San Jose. Those are my two bargain bin specials for this Friday night.
All right, good stuff. I like it. I like both of those, honestly. Good picks for Alex for bargain bin special of the night. And I have two bargain bin specials of the night as well. I'm not going to try to miss out on this guy for a third straight game as he tries to make it 3 in a row with a goal. Emmett Finney for Detroit at plus 700. Great price. He's really been noticeable. Goals now in consecutive games for him. Emmett Finney for Detroit plus 700 against Florida. That will be my first bargain bin special of the night. And my second one, we're going to see if we can cash another one with someone that's already rewarded me earlier in the last week or so with a bargain bin special winner. Michael Misa for the San Jose Sharks. 3 straight games with a goal. Looking to make it 4 straight tonight in their game against St. Louis. And plus 425 is the price there with Michael Misa. I like these. I could have gone, seriously, I could have gone 5 or 6 picks deep with bargain bin special tonight. But we're keeping it to 2. Emmett Finney, Detroit, plus 700. Michael Misa, San Jose, plus 425 for my 2 bargain bin specials. This is a hard choice tonight, man, to keep it to just 2. But there you have it, Misa and Finney. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you got for best bet?
Let's go with that Montreal-Anaheim. Both teams to score in the first period. Like I said, it's dropped down now to plus 146. But still that's a worthy value. Of course, we like the Habs to score the first goal of that game. But definitely could see goals coming from both sides within the first 20 minutes. So Montreal-Anaheim, both teams to score in the first period. That's my Friday best bet.
All right, good stuff there. All right, my best bet for this Friday NHL slate. Let's go with let's go to Minnesota, Vegas. And you're probably thinking I'm going to be on over 6. No, I like over 6. It is one of my bets on that game. But give me Minnesota first goal, first period in that game. I like it quite a bit. I mean, I've seen in this movie, this song and dance with the Vegas Golden Knights just a ton of times, man. These slow starts, they're jet lagged, coming off a road trip, especially a lengthy one. They have not been sharp in these first home game back at T-Mobile Arena. In these situations. And I think we got the chance to see more of the same. Minnesota's been a good team throughout the season as far as getting the first goal of the game. The price is pretty good on this. Plus 130, Minnesota first goal, first period, plus 130 against Vegas for my best bet here for this Friday NHL card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Appreciate it very much. And this is as good a Friday card as I've seen in a long time. So I hope all of you enjoy it. I'm sure we'll enjoy it and hope you cash some tickets as well. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Friday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we are back for the big Saturday slate at noon Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.